Hello students, welcome to Ayurveda. Today we are going to discuss the remaining part of the skin anatomy including skin lines and function of skin. So let's get started. First we'll start with skin lines. So first we'll discuss what is tension lines, or which is also called as Langer's line and cleavage lines. So these are the networks of linear furrows on the skin. Furrows means these are deep lines or linear deep lines present on the skin, which can also be understood as in wrinkles. These are the deep wrinkles which are present on the skin. So these are the network of linear furrows or linear deep lines present on the skin. As you can appreciate in this picture, these are the linear deep lines present here. These are the tension lines or Langer's line. They divide the surface of the skin into polygonal or lozenge shaped area. So these linear lines divide the surface of the skin into the polygonal and lozenge shaped area, as you can appreciate here in these pictures. It corresponds to the direction of the underlying collagen fiber. So these linear furrows or linear lines corresponds to the direction of the underlying collagen fibers. That means it depends upon how the collagen fibers are arranged in the skin, and depending on that collagen fibers, these tension lines arises or are present on the skin. They are clearly seen on the dorsum of the hand. These tension lines are clearly seen on the dorsum of the hand, and the surgical relevance of these lines are incisions are made parallel to these Langer's line. During surgery, incision are taken parallel to these tension lines or Langer's lines so that it can heal better with less scarring. So during surgery, when the incision is taken parallel to this Langer's line, the incision or the wound heals better with less scarring. So this is the most important point of this line, that the during surgery incisions are taken parallel to these lines. Okay, so these are the tension lines, or also called as Langer's line or cleavage lines, which are the linear furrows, network of linear furrows, that means deep lines or wrinkles present on the surface of the skin, dividing the surface into the polygonal and lozenge shaped area. Okay, moving on. Next is the flexure lines. These are also called as skin creases or skin joints. So what are these lines? These are the permanent lines which lie along which the skin folds during the joint movement. So let's understand it with the example. So this is the wrist joint, and during flexion of this joint, that means during this movement, that means the flexion of the joint, this line appears here, the skin fold here and the line appears here. These lines are called as flexure lines. The lines which appears during the movement of the joint, or especially during the flexion of the joint, the line that appear is called as flexure lines. Okay, and these lines are the permanent lines. These are the permanent lines along which the skin folds during the joint movement, mainly flexion, as I've already told. And the skin here is thin and firmly bound to the deep fascia. The skin here is thin because it is connected to the joint, and they are firmly bound to the deep fascia. Prominent at joint flexure, as I've already told, that these lines are prominent at joint flexure points such as palms, soles and digits. As you can appreciate here in this picture, the line present here on the digits are also flexure line which are present on the joints or prominent at the joint. Okay, these are all the flexure lines, and these are the permanent lines. Moving on, next is the papillary ridges, or which are also called as friction ridges, papillary ridges or friction ridges. These are found on palms and soles, including digits. These ridges are found on palms and soles, including digit. and they consist of narrow ridges with parallel grooves in the curved arrays. So these are the narrow ridges, like these narrow ridges which with parallel grooves, there are parallel grooves with the curved arrays. So the line are like this, okay, parallel grooves with curved arrays. They corresponds to the dermal papillae. What is dermal papillae? I have already discussed this topic on the previous lecture, so kindly go and check out that lecture to learn in detail about the dermal papillae. So these papillary lines corresponds to that dermal papillae, and these lines or these ridges are studied under dermatoglyphics. What is dermatoglyphics? It is the scientific study, a branch of a scientific study of ridge patterns on the skin of fingers, palms, toes and soles. Okay, so these are the scientific study of ridges patterns on the skin, specifically of the areas of fingers, palms, toes and soles. So these branch is called as dermatoglyphics, and these ridges are the basis for fingerprint, footprint identification. The fingerprint or footprint that are found on skin are due to these papillary ridges. These papillary ridges are responsible for the formation of fingerprints or footprints which are used medico-legally for the identification of a person. The major fingerprint patterns are loops, whorls and arches. So the major patterns in which these papillary ridges are present and they form the fingerprints are the loops, as you can appreciate here in this picture. These are the loops, loop pattern like loop, and whorls, this is the whorls, and arches like arches, as you can appreciate here. These are the arches. So these three types of fingerprint patterns are found in human beings, as you can appreciate here in the real picture. These are the loops, you can appreciate here, these are the loops. Okay, these are the whorls, round whorls present here, and this picture shows the arches pattern. Okay, this picture shows the arches pattern. So these three type of pattern are found on human being in fingerprint. Okay, which is loops, whorls and arches. These papillary ridges or fingerprints are genetically determined and they are stable throughout the life. These papillary ridges does not change throughout the life. They are stable throughout the life. So that's why it is very essential for the identification. Okay, so that was papillary ridges, which are also called as friction ridges, which are also called as fingerprints or footprints, which forms the fingerprints or footprints. Moving on, now we'll see the function of the skin. This is again the most important point. What are the functions of the skin? The first one is the protection. As we know that the skin perform the function of protection, as it protect the internal environment of the body from the external environment. It acts as a barrier between the external environment and the internal environment. And the skin also protect against the UV radiation. I have already discussed how it protects against UV radiation in the previous lecture. You can kindly go and check this out. And the skin also performs immune function. The Langerhans cells present in the epidermis produces immune responses, so that's why skin also helps in immune function. So by that, skin performs the protective function. By it acts as a barrier, it protects from UV radiation, and it also performs immune function by Langerhans cells present in the epidermis. The next function is the sensory function. So we know that the sensation of touch and pain are first received at the skin, and then the skin transmit it to the CNS for the further interpretation. So that's how the skin performs sensory function. The third one is the regulation of the body temperature. We know that we have already discussed that the sweat glands present in the skin performs the function of temperature regulation in the body. Okay, so how it performs? The sweat glands, by sweating, by releasing sweat, they manage or they regulates the body temperature. Next is the absorption. Skin also helps in absorption or perform the function of absorption, as there is selective permeability of skin. The skin has selective permeability, so mainly the lipid soluble substances are absorbed in the skin, and small molecular substances are also absorbed. That's why during any skin diseases, the lotion, we apply the topical lotions which are lipid soluble on the skin. And also in Ayurveda, different kinds of oils and different kinds of preparation of ghees are recommended to apply on skin, because the skin has selective permeability, especially for the lipid soluble substances. The next one is the secretion. So skin performs secretion function, as we know that the skin has sweat glands and sebaceous gland, which secretes sweat and sebum respectively. So that's how the skin performs secretion function, by secreting sweat and sebum. The next one is the excretion. So again, due to the elimination of sweat, and the waste product such as urea, salts and water also eliminate through sweat. So that's why we say that the skin performs excretion function, as it eliminates sweat, and urea, salts and water are also mixed in that sweat, which are the waste products. Next is the regulation of pH. How the skin perform the regulation of pH? So the skin surface of the skin has slightly acidic pH, which goes from 4.5 to 5.5, which helps to inhibit the growth of pathogen. So that's how the pH helps to inhibit the growth of pathogen. Next is the synthesis. Skin also performs the synthesis function, as it helps in the synthesis of vitamin D, which is essential for bone health, and also plays important role in calcium regulation. And it also helps in synthesis of keratin, as we have already discussed in the previous lecture how keratinization occurs. So it also helps in the synthesis of keratin, which is essential for the structure of the skin and which provides strength to the skin. So the synthesis function is performed, the skin do synthesis of D, vitamin D, and also keratin protein. Okay. The next is storage. So the water and lipids in the form of the sebum and vitamin D is stored in the skin. What is water and lipids in the form of sebum and also in vitamin D? These all are stored in a skin. So that's how it performs the storage function. And the last one is the reparative function. Reparative means wound healing function. So the skin does wound healing and does cell regeneration. So that's why it is called as, it performs reparative function. So that's all the function of skin. First one is the protection. It protects again, it acts as a barrier, protects again UV radiation, and also performs immune function. Sensory, it provides the sensation of touch and pain. Next is regulation of body temperature by sweat glands. Next is absorption, selective permeability is there, as there is only lipid soluble substances and small molecular substances are absorbed in the skin. Then secretion, there is secretion of sweat and sebum. Excretion of urea, salts and water through sweat is there. Regulation of pH of the skin surface is acidic, so it inhibits the growth of pathogen. Synthesis, it synthesizes vitamin D and keratin protein. Storage, there is a storage of water and lipids in the form of sebum. And reparative function, that is wound healing function of skin. So that's all for today's lecture. So by today's lecture we completed the series of skin anatomy. I'll see you soon in the next lecture with a new topic. Until then, keep reading and don't forget to subscribe, like and share. Thank you for watching this video.